Businesses thrive by knowing customer insights because today's insights are tomorrow's facts. At iResearch, we live and breathe insights. And despite searching high and low, we were unable to find a customer insights podcast that answers one of the most important questions in business. Why do customers do what they do? So we launched one. Hi, I'm your host, Darshan Mehta. I'd like to introduce Mike Montague. Mike is a speaker, podcaster, and game show host at Playful Humans. He is also the director of community engagement at Sandler Training. As you'll see in today's episode, Mike is super passionate about the power of play. Welcome, Mike. How are you?
I am doing well. So glad to be here. I love aha moments. So I'm looking forward to this.
Excellent. Well, I want to hear your journey and some of the aha moments that have helped you become a super passionate person about power of play.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. Like I said, I love these, but it was one big one for me. And so when I was growing up, a couple of interesting things happened around my formative years at about middle school, sixth to eighth grade there. And one is I got a chance to be on the radio and pretend to be a radio station manager for a day. Another one was my mom won a computer in a radio station contest in like 1986. So this is before people had a whole lot of personal computers. They were thousands of dollars, and she happened to win one. And that was before you had any games or apps and Windows on computers as well. So I had to learn how to program it to use it and to get on the internet news groups or get it to do anything. And those two things kind of swirled together to influence the rest of my life. And I'm getting to the first aha moment here. But in high school, I was like, well, I don't want to be a nerd and just, be a computer programmer and sit in a room by myself behind a computer all day. I want to be cool. I want to be on the radio. I want to be an entertainer. So I pursued that, and I worked my way up through radio and entertainment, DJing in bars and clubs. I opened for Billy Idol. That's another story you can ask me about. And got my own show on the radio. And guess what the job is? Sitting in a room by yourself behind a computer all day. And I was like, oh no. But the good news is it paid a fifth of what computer programmers make. And so that was kind of my first aha, was that the job of radio, or the dream of being on the radio, is not the same as actually doing it for a career. And I found that I love entertaining people more, and hearing somebody laugh or seeing them smile is a lot different than, seeing maybe one red light flash on the phone lines because somebody called in and was like, hey, that was funny. And you're like, thanks. I'm glad somebody liked it or was listening. And that was a big aha for me, that I really love human connection and playing with people and having fun rather than anything virtually. I don't find that as satisfying for me.
So where did you go after you realized that you didn't want to be on the radio in a room?
So I moved to an advertising agency first. And this is aha number 2 for me here was my dad was a sales trainer and public speaker, and I didn't think in my 20s that I could do that. It was late 20s at that point, and I was like, well, I can't go into a business owner's or a sales manager's office and be like, here's what you should do with your sales team. I'm 27. I have no idea. I've never sold anything before. So instead, I moved to an advertising agency and did internet marketing and websites. And I walked into business owners' offices and said, hey, here's what you should do with your internet marketing. And it took me about 3 years to my 30th birthday to go, oh, you idiot. Like, it's the same thing. You've studied and you have experience that business owners don't have. They're worried about how to be a plumber or an HVAC technician or to sell cars or insurance or whatever. And they're not thinking about how to sell and market their business. They're not reading all the books that you're reading and listening to all these talks and experts and studying it. And sometimes even when they can, they don't have my entertainment skill set and public speaking background to articulate that to other people. And so I kind of found one of my superpowers there is translating nerd speak into human language, or making things simpler for people in a way that's approachable and fun that they can understand. And so I think that was really, step number 2 for me that was big.
But I'm actually hearing another aha moment in there, and that is that, now that you're more experienced and older, what would you tell the younger Mike when he started saying, I don't know if I can do this, I'm not sure. I mean, what would you tell that young Mike now, having, had some experience behind you now?
Yeah, that is a big one. Imposter syndrome is huge. It still is for me today, even though I've had a lot of successes in my career. Sometimes I think success can, it can be even more inflating to that imposter syndrome, right? Because you're like, well, that was too easy. And who am I to have the success? Or why did that work and these other things didn't? And you start questioning stuff. And so to younger Mike, I think I would just say that everybody has those thoughts. Everybody doubts themselves, even the most powerful and successful people on the planet. And the second thing I would say is don't try and work too hard. And this will take us to maybe our third or fourth aha here is I think I was in such a hurry to get to some place that once I got there in my career, I realized that there's nothing there. Like if you can't find happiness where you are, you're not going to find it in the next place, right? You take that with you. And I think that's a huge lesson for everybody, but it was a big one for me, that especially when I became successful or I got the roles that I thought that I wanted when I was in a teen, like even the radio. But also being a leader or a vice president or getting on a big stage, they never seemed to quite live up to the dream or what I had, in my mind of what I thought success would look like. There's always another rung on the ladder. There's always another ladder to climb or something else. And I found that to be dissatisfying way to live, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So what does success look to you now? What does it look like to you?
It's really great. And I think this is the last, or latest big aha for me is in the pandemic, I discovered play research. And so it is really interesting to me that our society talks about hard work and grinding, and especially in an entrepreneurial space, right? You have to hustle, and there's this whole hustle culture, and you have to work 60 hours. And most of the research that I found now that I've been looking into this it started before the pandemic. A couple of years before that, I was looking into creativity, and that led me to the play research. But the play research was amazing, that if you work more than 60 hours for more than 6 weeks in a row, you actually start producing less than if you had just worked 40 hours the whole time. And I thought, well, how could that be? You slow down so much, your brain and your body and your productivity slows down so much that even with 20% more time, you're producing less. And you get less creative. So you're working harder. You kind of try to brute force things rather than stop and solve problems. And a whole bunch of bad things happen. And I thought, well, if that's true, what else is true that way? And when I looked into the play research, it's almost everything. That salespeople that are happier sell 30% more than salespeople that are trying harder and to work harder. And you're like, oh, that's weird. And it turns out that people that play are healthier. You lose weight because you move more, or you don't have the stress hormones building up cortisol in your body and adrenaline that's causing you to mess up and stress out and just ruin your body. People that play more smile more, so they are ranked as more attractive. And, it's not a great thing, but more attractive people get more job opportunities. They get more dating opportunities. They have all kinds of other advantages of being more approachable and getting better work among teammates and things. Even when you just have a better attitude, it creates this positive spiral that impacts all the rest of the parts of your life. And so I just kind of went on this thought experiment and the aha of, what if it didn't have to be hard? What if life was easy and fun? And what if what you're missing is that everybody else is telling you it has to be hard? But in my life, the things that I love are the things that I get rewarded for and paid the most. I get paid when I'm playing, when I'm on stage in front of people, when I am connecting with other human beings in an emotional way. Not when I'm doing grunt work and I'm filling out spreadsheets and stuff, right? Computers can do that faster than we can now. But what we really need is somebody to be creative and interesting. And that really was a big aha for me.
So when you talk about the power of play and the playful human, tell me exactly what do you mean by that?
Well, play is an interesting thing. And so I have a kind of a complicated definition, but I'd run through a couple of parts for you. One is, obviously it sparks joy. When you're doing something that you enjoy, you do it better and you actually work a lot harder at it. So some people say, if you find what you love, you'll never work another day in your life. I think that's BS. We all still have to pay our taxes. We all still have bad days and days that we're tired and don't feel like it. Or we have a client, so we have to deliver for a client or a deadline or something. But when you do something that you enjoy, you actually end up working harder at it and you try more. There's a great study on luck that says that people who consider themselves lucky actually end up being more lucky simply because they try more. So if somebody says, "Oh, I'm unlucky, I'm not going to win the lottery," they never buy a ticket, right? And if somebody says, "Oh, I am lucky," they keep buying tickets, and they're like, "Oh, that's weird. I didn't win this time, so let me try again. I should have won that because I'm lucky." And they end up being lucky simply because they're trying more. And play ends up in a very similar space where if you're being playful, you're attracting more opportunities. You're continuing to do it. I think about when I was a kid, and I don't know if Darshan, you had any of these experiences growing up, but we would do very elaborate things to keep the play going, right? You would divide teams and you'd work as a team, or we'd build a fort and we'd spend days or weeks, building something in the woods or building a snowman or a sandcastle. We did a lot of hard work to be able to play with our friends, right? And so we did a lot of soccer practices to be able to get to the game, but we enjoyed all of that along the way. And I think that's what people are missing. They're missing that it's not all sunshine and roses. It's that when you're playing, you're engaged in this activity that is lighting up your whole body. Your brain's on fire. Your body's in a positive, healthy stress state and not a freaked out emotional fight or flight stress state. And all of those open up more possibilities for success for you.
It's interesting. So do you think play leads to the right mindset, or you have to have the right mindset to play?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say play leads to the right mindset based on the scientific research. So what happens is when you start playing, your brain switches the chemicals. So when you're stressed out, you get that fight or flight adrenaline rush of like your body clenches up and rigid is the best way to describe it. Your brain focuses on the one best option to keep you alive, and you lock in, and even your eyesight narrows and your focus narrows in front of you, and your body tenses up to be able to run or fight or do what it has to do. When you're in a play state, the opposite is what happens. Your brain releases chemicals in the brain that are natural opioids that open up your creativity and relax the body. So your body relaxes, your muscles get loose. You're in that warmed up state, right? If you've ever played a sport, you know where it is, where you start to get into that flow state and you're like, "Oh, I can move. I'm feeling great." I release all these positive chemicals. That pain goes away. Your brain opens up. Your eyes open up. You look for more possibilities and you start getting more creative and more insights by opening up rather than closing up. And so I would say that you can play first. You can force it a little bit to get into that play state. But if you're waiting for your mindset to be playful, it's going to be, it could be a while, right?
Mm. It's I guess it's easier to play than it is to say, I need this mindset. But I think what you're saying is once you start playing, that mindset kind of just comes in anyways. And then that's what leads to the other positive domino effects of the combination of the play and the mindset.
Now, I will say there are some thought experiments and things that people do in the play world to get you in the mindset first. And you do have to be willing to play. So one of the aspects of play I didn't talk about yet is it has to be voluntary. You can't force somebody to play, just like you can't force somebody to fall in love with you or something. That's their own emotional state. So you do have to be open to a play experience in order to like it. We've all, been at a comedy club or something when you're in a bad mood or somebody's trying to cheer you up and you're like, look, this isn't happening. I don't care how funny you are. I'm upset right now, So I think that is a key to think about what are some possibilities? How could I be more creative, or how am I looking at this the wrong way? And give yourself permission to let go of that stress. So I'm a big fan of mindfulness and meditation and other things to kind of get back to center. But sometimes center or neutral isn't enough. You want to get back over to that positive play side of joy and eustress and some really cool things that happen when you're fully engaged. But I do think sometimes that mindfulness, meditation, or just thinking about what you're feeling helps you reshift that back to a more positive mindset.
What do you find are the three biggest road bumps people encounter or even create when it comes to play experiences?
Oh, man, this is a tough one because there's a lot to unpack here. I'm writing a book about all of this, and this is going to be a whole chapter. But I think there's big things here. Number one is just society. We've created this society based on Puritan work ethic and economic basics. So when the Industrial Revolution came, we needed people to be machines. We needed them to work in a factory and on an assembly line for the Ford plant, and we needed them to be a machine. But that's not what we're designed to be. We're designed to be creative and playful. And so it took a lot of indoctrination through school and the media and commercials and other things to tell you, like, oh, if you just work hard, if you just be this machine, it will pay off eventually and you can play in retirement. So it all started around 1900 that we needed people to be machines. But now it's been over 100 years of us selling that message. We really have to break that cycle and then say, no longer, we have machines and computers to be machines. We don't need humans to do the physical work of machines anymore. We need them to be creative, spur connections, build cultures and values of people that computers can't do. They can't see connections of different ways to use objects or to be more innovative in a process, because that's not what they're designed to do. So society would be number one. Number two for me would be just the fear. I think there's this fear of looking silly, or that if I'm going to be playful, I have to be the Steve Martin arrow through the head, balloon animal wearing like bow tie, wearing crazy clown. And that's not true. So I try very much to, and you've already seen here on this one, I haven't been really telling a whole lot of jokes or being super silly and obnoxious in this, but I can still be playful. I can still be open and be a professional and an adult. So that kind of takes me to my third big one is I think there's just a thing about age that when we start getting to a teenage years, we start worrying about what other people think. And then when we get out of school, we start worrying about being professional and being taken seriously and making money. And we forget that really up until the age 12, we were just worried about having the most fun. We were worried about being joyful and enjoying the moment and living our life. And we weren't concerned about all of the other junk that gets in the way. And what I say to that one is really what's amazing is the stuff that brings you joy also brings you the success. It brings you the professionalism. It brings you the attraction of the other people that you're trying to impress. When you're a boring, stressed out robot that's depressed, nobody wants to be around that. And so it's actually going back to the play that will get you those things that you're most worried about and fearful about as an adult.
What do you say to those people that say, hey, Mike, this sounds great, but I'm an introvert?
That's great. There is a bunch of play personality. So if you go to my website, shameless plug time, playfulhumans.com/quiz, I created a playfulness quiz that there are at least 10 different playful personality types. So like I just mentioned, you don't have to be the class clown type. You don't have to be Steve Martin, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey to be a playful human. There are also people that like puzzles and board games, or there are people that like exploring on their own in the woods or under water and snorkeling and stuff, that you can do other things that you enjoy. There's playful types even that like to facilitate play for other people. So Darshan, you might fit into this one, because I found a lot of podcasters, including myself, like to do this. It's not really about me. I like facilitating this experience for other people. So I get joy by creating joyful experiences for other people. And that's called a producer play type, where people that like to host parties and things like that fit into that one. There are, of course, people that like different types of social play or physical play, and a lot of sports are obvious ones. So any type of body movement, dance, is another way that you can play, and you can do that alone or with other people. Or creative types. So a lot of people don't think about, especially for introverts, but being a painter or a writer or creating videos. A lot of people don't realize that in radio, almost everybody is an introvert. So they love to be entertaining, but if they were an extrovert, they wouldn't be in a room by themselves behind a microphone, right? They would be out in the party. They would be out in a club being a DJ, not on the radio. So almost every radio personality I know has some excitement to them, but they're actually an introvert. They don't actually like mixing it up with people that much.
Interesting. So how do you empower people to experience fun, flow, freedom, and fulfillment, the 4 F's you talk about?
I love it. I think you got to rediscover the power of play. You got to feel it. So what happened for me, and this was a big aha moment that we skipped. I had an experience in college where a friend of mine had a heart attack and died in the room next to mine. And I kind of went into a downward spiral of like living in the moment and nothing matters. Life is short, and kind of figuring it out. And I was really, quite depressed for quite a long time, until I had this experience where I was playing with some coworkers, and we were playing soccer, and it got to be like so funny. Just funny things happen, and people kept like falling, and other people were getting upset, and then that escalated, and they started laughing. And it was just one of those classic, improvised play things where just like what you expected was not what happened. And it was all hysterical, and we were like crying, laughing. And I felt that feeling, and I was like, wow, I used to feel like this all the time when I was younger. I used to I wasn't stressed out. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't worried about what people thought of me. Like I was just in this moment of feeling good and that euphoria of play. The Portuguese have a word for it. It's called desbundar, which is the feeling of your inhibitions dropping during play, where you're kind of become fully present and you're just like, oh, wow, I'm living in the moment right now. And I think when you experience that feeling, you can understand that that's the way life should be, that's our natural state where we're living our best life. It's not when we're grinding and we're pushing and we're stressed and we're trying to make all this other stuff happen. It's when we've let those guards down and we've really just allowed ourselves to have this moment of joy in life. So I like to try to inspire that in other people, and that will hopefully trigger those memories for them so they can remember what their childhood experiences of play were. So, Darshan, here's where I like to do it. If you don't mind, do you want to play a game?
Yeah, sure.
And see if we can have some fun and laughs with people? All right. I have 3 good questions for you. This is Survey Says. You've probably seen it on TV before. We surveyed 100 people. The top answers are on the card. If you get one of the top answers, you win. So question number 1, name something that cats and men have in common.
Cats and men have in common whiskers.
Whiskers. There you go. It's on there. That is our number 4 answer. Love sleeping. Number 1, being lazy, sneaky. I'm not sure I agree with that. Number 5, likes petting. I think that's a good answer. All right. Name a kind of place where people pretend to be paying attention.
Cocktail parties.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. The get-togethers are at number 3. I don't know. Movies it was number 4. That doesn't make sense to me. Or a concert or a play. Why would you pretend to be paying attention? I guess, maybe at a play you didn't like. But church and school were 1 and 2. So I feel like those definitely fit there. All right. Last one. This is one of my favorite questions. During a power failure, name something you can still turn on.
You can turn on your phone if it's charged.
There you go. This one must have, the questions were done in 2019, but phone didn't make the list.
It didn't.
Surprisingly. Flashlight, radio, water, stove, and spouse. Spouse made the.
There you go. Number list. 1, huh?
So I appreciate you playing. I think I love playing game shows with people. I run events for corporate events or private parties or birthday parties and things. And it's amazing to me I always see that moment. Like people come in skeptical. They're not sure about it. Their guards are up. And then there's that one question that makes everybody laugh or something funny happens and their guards come down and they get into it or the score gets tied and they start taking it seriously. And you see just their body and their emotions and their face change and you go, oh, I got them. They are into this. And sometimes it takes 5 minutes and sometimes it takes 35 minutes. But usually by the end of the hour, people are always saying, man, that was really fun. We haven't done that in a while. Especially during the pandemic.
Do you think that this lack of play is really what contributes to burnout?
Yeah, 100%. There's been a ton of research that shows that it does, but play deprivation is a huge problem in our society, and it creates all kinds of mental illness. So that could be serious stuff like depression and even there's one research that Dr. Stuart Brown looked at, like it creates psychopaths and serial killers that if they're deprived of play when they're children, what happens is you lock into that one right answer. So under stress, you get rigid and you think, okay, well, the only way out of this is for me to hurt myself or other people because you're not having options. But when you have play, you start getting more creative. You realize that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and it's not all bad, or that there are different ways to solve a problem. And your brain opens up those chemicals and those neural pathways and connections that let you see other ways out. And so what happens in burnout is you're like, oh my gosh, I have no choice but to go to work and grind and do this thing again. And there's no other options, and that I can't be happy doing anything else, or I can't get another job that I like better. Or I can't follow my dreams, or I can't get my boss to recognize me, or I can't do this. And so we start limiting our options rather than opening them up. And so if we simply, there's 2 things. One is play does that for our brains and bodies. We've already talked about that. Number 2 is we build this conditioning and this resilience that allows us to get over the failure. So I've saved my best aha for last year. I got a chance to open for Billy Idol when he was here in Kansas City in about 2006. And I worked for the retro radio station. His opening act got sick and they called and said, hey, do you have anybody that would, could play music before the show? We need to kill about an hour. And I got volunteered because I was the only one that does live stuff. I told you the rest of them are introverts. They don't want to go to a concert with thousands of people and be on stage. So I talked to Billy Idol and his manager before the show, and they said, play a lot of rock music. It's a rock show. Don't play any Billy Idol songs because we're going to play those later. And play whatever you play on the radio and do your thing. I said, perfect. I can do that. This is Billy Idol in the 2000s, so it's not like peak Billy Idol. It's all like soccer moms and old, 38, 40-year-old moms coming to see Billy Idol. And I was like, this is my crowd. I can crush this because I love the 80s and stuff. So I was playing songs like Jesse's Girl and 867-5309, Jenny, and all kinds of what I thought was 80s rock that I associate with Billy Idol. About 3 songs in, and the manager comes out and goes, I thought we said play rock music, like the Rolling Stones. And that's when panic set in, because I was a club DJ, and this is before Wi-Fi or anything. I only had the CDs that I had brought with me. And I don't know if you've ever paid attention, but there's about 2 rock songs that people dance to. You Shook Me All Night Long and Pour Some Sugar on Me. And that's it. So I played those 2 songs. And then I was desperately looking for other rock music. I found a Rolling Stone song, so I played that. I found an Aerosmith song. I was like, that'll buy me some time. And then I kind of played 4 rock songs in a row. I was like, okay, I can probably switch back to the retro music and stuff now and buy myself some more time, because I was out of song. So I played Casey and the Sunshine Band. It was do a little dance, make a little love, and get down tonight. And I like that because I can make the joke, like, not in that order, save the making love for the end of the night, but you feel free to do a little dance and get down if you want to. And I play the song, and the lights come down, the music goes off, and I'm fired live on stage in front of about 5,000 people. No. I look over to the side, and the manager's like, you're done.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, I don't even know what to, I can't do anything. I don't have a microphone or voice or anything. So I just pack up my stuff. I slink off stage. I do not collect my $200. I do not pass go. I just get out of there. But what happened from there was I became a bulletproof performer. There's nothing on this podcast that can happen today that can be worse than that. There's nothing that can go wrong in a speech or a sales training or a game show that's going to be worse than getting fired by 5,000 people in front of 5,000 people. And so that's what I was talking about there, where if you take those opportunities, if you try some things, you learn how to overcome difficulties. You build your physical and mental conditioning that when you have bad days, you go, oh, well, that's not that bad. I can get over that. Or I've had worse. Or there's going to be a new opportunity. I win too. And all of a sudden, all of those other problems start to feel smaller. And when you do that, that's how you get past stuff and how you keep moving along and you get out of those negative cycles.
The one thing I've learned is that when you're having a bad moment, you just kind of tell yourself, it could always be worse, right?
Yeah, that's true. It can always be worse. And it's always going to get better too.
Right. Yeah. And going back to something you said earlier, one of the revelations I had not that long ago was I've decided that when I meet someone new, I really try to find a way to make them smile and make me smile, because then that creates a win-win situation. And I think that's going back to kind of what you're saying, is having fun. And that just and it's amazing what a difference that makes in the connection you make with people as a result of that.
Well, yeah, but here's what I think, just to add on to that, is it's actually a lot bigger than that for me, because I agree. I love like Patch Adams. And when I saw that movie, I was like, he was trying and he was playing with the idea of how fast can I make a human connection with somebody. And I try and do that in my life too. But once you get them smiling, I mean, the good always wins, because people who are worried about scarcity and trying to take, or how can I use this person, or what can I do to get them a return on their investment, and they're trying really hard, is people don't want those people to win. People don't want to help them, right? If you act like, oh, I'm the biggest, baddest thing anybody's ever seen, and I'm the most successful in my career, and I talk about how great you are, people don't like that. They want to knock that person off the pedestal. They go, oh, well, he's already got more than I do. I don't need to help him. But if you struggle, if you laugh, if you play, if you build other people up, people want you around. They want to give you opportunities. They want to help you out. They go, oh man, I want to see Darshan succeed because I like him and he's awesome. And so you get more opportunities. It creates a synergistic effect that is much more powerful than even that first connection. Is they want to introduce you to other people and give you referrals because they know that you're going to make those people laugh and you're going to make them look good for introducing you to those people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things you talk about, right? In some of your speeches and stuff. And that's the thing a little bit about social selling, correct?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole idea, is to be a go-giver. That's a book by Bob Berg. But even on social, there's no dislike button, right? So if you want to go viral, you have to do things that people like, that makes them feel good. So I do sales training. We've mentioned that, right? If I put a post and go, hey, are you missing quota and terrified that you're going to lose your job as a salesperson? Nobody's going to go yep, sign me up. Let me tell all my friends that that's me, right? They can't relate to that. But if I can talk about positive things, if I can make it playful, if I can make jokes about what it's like to be a salesperson, or I can do something relatable that makes them feel good and raise the stature of salespeople, then they'll like that and they'll share that with other people. And that's how you create these networks of people that are helping you. And we're all helping each other build each other up. That's fun.
Are there certain things you try to do on a daily basis that hone your imagination, creativity, humor, spontaneity, and sociability skills?
Man, you hit my big five there. There is a couple of things I try to do. So number one, I think it is, I try to create more than I consume. So that's another thing in our society we didn't talk about earlier, but if you're just watching Netflix and doom scrolling on social media, you're not going to have a great day. You're not going to have fun. It's been proven that's going to make you more depressed. So if you shut that off and instead you make something, if you post on social media instead of reading it, good things happen. You're creating something, you're adding value to the world. If you make a video instead of watch one, good things happen. If you shut all of that off and you just go play outside, go for a walk, better things will happen for you. So I think number one is create more than you consume. Number two for me is managing your expectations. And this is one that I still struggle with and I get sucked into a lot, but all of the commercials and all the advertisements and programming we see these days is designed to make us want more and buy more and try to consume more. And so if you can find a way to lower your desires, you end up getting more than you expect. If you expect and think that you deserve the world and you deserve to be Jeff Bezos, you're always going to be disappointed. There's always going to be somebody richer, better looking, who has more friends or whatever. You're never gonna find that. But if you can find a way to want less and manage your expectations and be grateful for what you have, I think that adds a lot to your happiness level. And then the next thing for me is to try to. This is another book from somebody else. I forget the author's name right now, but have you ever heard of Hell Yes or No? So this is a decision-making framework. I highly recommend the book. It's from a guy in Silicon Valley. And, a lot of apps or other things can get scope creep and things can blow up and people go, oh, well, yeah, it might be a little bit better if we threw this feature in there or if we gave them this button, things would, and it ends up getting so complicated that it makes the whole thing worse. But your life works the same way. If you keep saying yes to everything, if you respond to every email in your inbox and you do everything that other people ask you to do, you end up running out of time to do things for yourself. And so when I think about the type of job that I want or the podcast that I want to appear on or even what I want for dinner, if I want to go do something with my friends, it should be a hell yes. Your life should be like, yes, I'm in. This excites me. It brings me joy. It's a hell yes. Otherwise, it should just go in the no bucket. Just skip it, right? If it's just going to be another routine thing, let me check this off the box and let me enter, clear my email so that I can go home for the day. That's a no. That doesn't need to be there. And so I think the more you can say no to things and people that wear you down, that drains your energy, that sucks the life out of you. And you can say hell yes to the things that bring you joy, that excite you, that you're passionate about, the more happiness you'll feel long term. And I think that's a big, big thing.
Are there any areas of play that you're researching, or are there new types of play you're exploring?
Oh, that's interesting. I always try new games. I'm always open to checking out like a new board game or a game show on TV. And I'm kind of reading the history of game shows. It's really interesting to find out what makes a game interesting, right? Like, why is Family Feud interesting to watch on television? And I think I've narrowed it down. I found some cool new research here. I was helping the University of Colorado with a project, and the researcher, the doctor, said play is a movement between chaos and order. So if you think about like a ball is a really simple thing to play with. Every mammal on the planet will play with a ball. And a ball is interesting because, when you bounce it, especially, outside in an unlevel surface, you never know what's going to happen. There's a chaos element to it, right? And so being able to catch this ball or to, throw it somewhere that I want or things is a movement between chaos and order. And when you see that with Family Feud, they have the order of the answers that everybody else said, but they also have this chaos of, we don't know what this contestant is going to say, right? And so when we balance chaos and order together, it creates a magic in our life that I think is really powerful. And far too many people are focused on the order side of that. They want to control everything. They want everything in nice, neat boxes and for it to be clean. But what makes life interesting is when you spill stuff, when you trip and fall, when you make a mess, when you burn the food and now we have to improvise something else for dinner. That's what makes it interesting. And I've really been trying to focus on that movement and enjoying the movement between chaos and order in my life.
Interesting. I think that might be behind with the success and the popularity of, Wordle. Have you been playing that?
Yeah. I mean, Wordle's a great example like that, right? When those tiles reveal whether you got, yellow or green, it's that moment of, the chaos is going to sort into some sort of order and it's going to be unexpected for me. But the other one I think about, have you ever seen The Wall? The Wall is basically a big Plinko board, right? They put balls in the top and they bounce down in different directions. And we don't know whether it's going to land in $1 or $1 million. So it's this moment of chaos that we get to watch safely, without being in physical harm and see what happens. And that spontaneity of that ball bouncing either direction and somebody, winning $1 or losing $1 million or gaining $1 million makes it interesting.
Well, I've discovered two other games since then. One is called Cross Wordle. We actually have to go backwards. Oh. So you actually get the word, but then you have to go backwards up. And another one is Nerdle, which is not words, but it's math.
Oh, math is interesting. I saw Star Wars Wordle came out today too. And they're made up words from Star Wars universe. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, interesting. And so some parents are using Nerdle to help their kids learn math. And they're enjoying doing that because, again, as we're talking about, brings learning and fun together. And they're actually doing quite well in math. Yeah, yeah. So I know I'm going to ask you a question in a minute, which I think, but before that, I want to ask you, who in the world of play and having fun would you love to have lunch with and why?
I mentioned him already, but I think growing up, my favorite comedian was Steve Martin. My mom had one of his comedy albums on record when I was a kid. And my grandma and my family just really loved his movies and his comedy. And he's an interesting mix, like I am, between nerd and comedian. And so I love somebody that's really intelligent, but is also not afraid to be silly. That's what I love when you said Nerdle. I was like, man, you're speaking my language. Like somebody that is a nerd and playing games at the same time is brilliant. And I think getting to just see the real Steve Martin at a dinner, not on television or something would be really cool.
Yeah. Well, check out Nerdle. So my last question to you, and I know you're doing is, what's your joke of the day, or what's the joke you want to share with us?
Oh man, that's a great question. I do always have a joke of the week. I always make up a fake sponsor on my podcast too. So if anybody's listening to this podcast, you probably listen to podcasts. You can look up Playful Humans. And I trap myself. So now I have to write 2 jokes every week. I have to write a fake sponsor and I have to write a joke of the week. So my favorite fake sponsor right now is this joke is brought to you by the 80s. When I think of the 80s, I think of a boombox, but that's just a stereotype. The 80s. All right. And then the joke of the week. This is a new one I haven't tried yet, but Danny sets up his friend Andy to go on a blind date with a friend of his. But Andy's a little worried about it. He's never seen this woman before. And he asks his friend, he's like, what if I do if she's ugly or mean or something? I'm going to be stuck with her all night. And Danny says, don't worry. If you don't like her when you first meet her, just start breathing heavy and you can fake an asthma attack and you can get out of there. And he said, all right, that'll work. And he shows up at the restaurant and he sees the girl walk through the door and he's awestruck. She's just gorgeous. He's completely excited about the date. He goes up and says, hi, I'm Andy. And she says, and she makes an asthma attack.
That's great. Well, I'm going to contribute a joke to your weekly joke. How's that? I'll give you a joke.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now you got me in. So we're going to have some fun here. So I have this friend, and by the way, his name is Mike, just by chance, and he decided to become a missionary. And so he went overseas, and his mission was to teach the natives English. And so he also wanted to incorporate fun like yourself. So he said, I'm not just going to stand up here and teach them English. I'm going to take a walk through the woods and I'll point to things and I'll say the words and they'll repeat after me. So, he has a line proceeding after him through the woods and he comes upon a tree and he goes, tree, and I'll go tree, tree, tree right down the line. And then they walk along further and there's a bush and he says, bush, and I go, bush, bush, bush. But behind the bush is a couple in a very compromising position. And everybody's seen this, and he's like, "Oh my God, what do I do? I'm not going to, teach them bad words and stuff." So, being quick on his feet, he says, "Riding bike," and they all kind of look at him like, "Okay." So they'll go riding bike, riding bike, riding bike. But then there's a gunshot. The guy behind the bush dies, and Mike goes, "Oh my God!" He goes running back. He goes, "Why'd you shoot him?" And the guy says, "Riding my bike."
Oh, that's good. I like the. Jokes are also so funny because it's that moment of chaos and unexpectedness, right? That we were talking about, that you set up this pattern and order, and then you break the pattern. And that's what, when it creates a good, positive feeling, that's what makes us laugh and makes us joyful. And so jokes are a great way to get yourself in the playful mindset and get out of taking things so seriously. I definitely encourage people to joke and laugh more.
Well, Mike, thank you very much. This was fun. I enjoyed it and had some fun. And I look forward to, continuing a conversation, and we'll have some more fun again.
I love it. I look forward to hearing more ahas. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Getting to AHA was brought to you by iResearch. To find out more about us, head to iResearch.com and make sure to search for Getting to AHA in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are found. And don't forget to click follow to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you for listening.